Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers read and react, Mike Tomlin's extension and bringing back CB Cam Sutton. It's been a busy week since our last column. Mike Tomlin has quieted whispers about a hot seat, a familiar face is starting over in Pittsburgh, and the wide receiver depth on the team continues to be a concern. Let's not waste any time and dive right in. Did we really expect anything different? I certainly expect Tomlin's in a better mood. To be honest, something along these lines seemed pretty obvious. I think with long-tenured coaches such as Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick leading their teams, some people might have thought that if the Steelers were ever going to consider shaking up their leadership, why not now while change seems to be in the air? However, to anyone who has followed this team for any substantial amount of time, that idea never seemed grounded in reality. The Steelers are as steady as they come. For better or for worse, the Steelers are a team that does not make changes until they feel it is absolutely necessary. Some pockets of the fan base might be frustrated with Tomlin, but the Rooneys have never indicated that they were at any point in his career. And while I think it's true that the urgency to start winning playoff games again is growing, it's clear the organization doesn't believe Tomlin is the biggest reason for those struggles. I tend to agree with that sentiment. Realistically, it's going to be hard for the quarterback play to be worse than it was last year, even if Russell Wilson and Justin Fields both turn out to be duds. Say what you will about Arthur Smith's time as a head coach, I'm confident his offense will be less constipated than the one Matt Canada subjected us to. I'm also encouraged by how Omar Khan has attacked free agency and the draft over the past 2 seasons. With their thin wide receiver depth, the Steelers might need another offseason to finish fully retooling this offense, but I'm pleased with the direction they're heading. I think Tomlin is the right guy to steer the ship. Come back to me in 3 years if they still haven't won a playoff game. I've always been a Mike Tomlin supporter, but I started to lose fervency as the 2023 season continued. I wrote that the Steelers might be the worst coached team in football at one point. The lack of recent playoff success, no postseason win since 2017, paired with some inexcusable losses, has been getting harder and harder to defend. But I always come back to the same question: if the Steelers did move on from Tomlin, could they sign someone better? There's no guarantee, and I'm willing to bet the answer is no. Tomlin is a good coach and a great leader. Frazier, the latest of WVU's ties to Tomlin and the Steelers. Not quite sure what to make of it, but in the last 24 hours or so the Pittsburgh Steelers signed both their longtime coach Mike Tomlin to a contract extension while signing prized rookie center Zach Frazier to his first NFL contract. Not to make too much of it, but is there any significance in the fact that Tomlin received a 3-year extension while Frazier's deal was for 4 years? Just saying. But then again, Frazier had a better year than Tomlin, and if social media is any judge, fans believe he had a better future than Tomlin. Never a franchise to mess with its coaches, much as one might gather from the fact that only 3 men have coached the Steelers since 1969, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Tomlin. That the fans ignored calls for a change at the top is not surprising. While the Steelers fans ask what have you done for me lately, the Steelers management under the Rooney family simply asks what have you done for me. Stability is a way of life with the Steelers, which screams loudly about Frazier's chance for a long and successful NFL career with them, just as it explains Rooney's reluctance to pull the plug on a coach who has spent 17 years in the head coach's office without ever suffering a losing season. Tomlin's long-term resume is impressive. It's Hall of Fame impressive. He was something of a coaching prodigy when he became the youngest coach in NFL to coach in and win a Super Bowl when the Steelers defeated the Arizona Cardinals, 27-23, in Super Bowl 43, a record that since has been surpassed by Sean McVay, who won Super Bowl 56 with the Los Angeles Rams. Tomlin has won 7 AFC North championships, 11 playoff berths, and coached in 2 Super Bowls. But that "what have you done for me lately" argument is quick to point out that under Tomlin, the Steelers have not won a playoff game since advancing to the AFC Championship game in 2017. As if a contract worth a reported $37.50 over the next 3 years didn't speak to the Rooney's complete backing of Tomlin, Steelers president Art Rooney too verbalized it in the team's statement upon announcing the extension. "Extending his contract for 3 more years reflects our confidence in his ability to guide the team back to winning playoff games and championships, while continuing our tradition of success." The continuation of Tomlin's career in Pittsburgh is important here in West Virginia, as he has long been an ally of the university through a friendship he developed with the late former Mountaineer football coach Bill Stewart, whose 72nd birthday was celebrated Tuesday. The tie right now is stronger than ever, with Frazier now a key block in the new foundation that Tomlin is beginning to build on one of the NFL's cornerstone franchises with what may well be its most zealous fan base. Steelers urged to pursue prime breakout WR candidate. Pundits continue to connect the Pittsburgh Steelers to Brandon Ayuk. But more than likely, the Steelers will have to look elsewhere if they are going to add a WR2 before training camp. SI.com's All-Steelers Jacob Punt-Uri argued the Steelers should consider former Washington Commanders first-round pick Jahan Dotson. If the Steelers want to take a swing at a prime candidate to break out in a new city, they should call Washington about Jahan Dotson, wrote Punt-Uri. In 2 seasons with the Commanders, he has 1,041 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. In the shadow of Terry McLaurin, Dotson could benefit from a change of scenery. Lining up opposite George Pickens would give the Steelers 2 excellent contested pass catchers and physical receivers for Russell Wilson to target. Dotson posted 49 catches for 518 yards with 4 touchdowns during his second NFL campaign last season. He had 7 touchdowns as a rookie in 2022. Other than Ayuk, proposed trades through the media in June have suggested the Steelers could acquire Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb. But in trade proposals for those stars, the Steelers gave up third-year receiver George Pickens. Entering minicamp, Pickens was the only receiver on Pittsburgh's roster who had at least 210 receiving yards last season. Acquiring a star in exchange for Pickens doesn't seem to be the ideal move for Pittsburgh because it doesn't really improve the team's receiving depth. Jefferson, if he ever was, is no longer available anyway since he signed a record-breaking contract with the Minnesota Vikings. Dotson fits as a trade target for Pittsburgh because he could be acquired without giving up Pickens. He would also easily slide into the WR2 role with the Steelers. Dotson didn't light up the stat sheet last year, but his production could go a long way to replacing Deontay Johnson, who the Steelers traded to the Carolina Panthers in March. While Dotson can be a physical receiver like Pickens, he could also complement the big play ability of the Steelers' number 1 wideout. Pickens led the league in yards per catch last season, while Dotson averaged 10.6 yards per grab. The Steelers have an obvious need for a receiver such as Dotson. But the question, like so many other potential wideout trades for Pittsburgh, is whether the Commanders would be willing to depart with the young receiver. They just drafted Jaden Daniels with the 2nd overall pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, so it makes sense to try and give their rookie QB all the weapons possible, wrote Punt-Uri. Terry McLaurin is obviously Washington's top receiver, and the Commanders just drafted receiver Luke McCaffrey in the 2024 NFL Draft. But McCaffrey is a 3rd-round pick, and there aren't any other obvious receivers who could replace Dotson for the Commanders. The other notable wideouts on Washington's roster include Olamide Zaccheaus, Dyami Brown, and Jamison Crowder. The Commanders also have tight end Zach Ertz, who could catch passes for rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. If the Steelers can't pull off a trade for Dotson, Punt-Uri suggested 2 other realistic receiver trade targets, Jacoby Myers and KJ Osborne. Either would be an upgrade over the receivers the Steelers currently have competing for the WR2 role. Myers has recorded 3 straight seasons with at least 800 receiving yards, while Osborne has surpassed the 500-yard mark 3 years in a row. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Jahan Dotson? Leave your opinion in the comments.